Do you find yourself stuck in middle management? Or do you have team members who feel stuck in middle manager roles? I have the incredible opportunity to speak with my new friend, Adam Tarnow, all about middle managers and how we as leaders can serve them better, how they can lead better, more effectively. He's got a great book as an incredible resource he provides to our community. I'm so excited for you to hear this great conversation, my new friend Adam. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Efird. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to the Pillars of Purpose podcast, powered by Lighting Pros. I'm your host, Matthew Efird, and I'm so excited to have my friend here with me, Adam Tarnow. He's a friend of the podcast. We've got multiple connections, as we found out when we connected beforehand. Adam, man, I'm so excited for you to be here. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. For those who may not know you, if you're come on, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
So Adam Tarnow, you and I both have last names that get mispronounced a lot.
That's
so
right.
We've got that in common. So you're in Blairsville, Georgia. One of my dear friends that I shared an apartment with when I graduated from college was from Blairsville. So I've been to Blairsville, Georgia. We both know Clay Scroggins. We're now both connected with Able Speak. So I'm excited to be here. So grew up on the East Coast in Silver Spring, Maryland, Manassas, Virginia. Went to college at Clemson in South Carolina. Lived in Atlanta, started my career as a CPA, moved out to Dallas, Texas in 2002 to go to grad school, to go to seminary.
Okay.
Thought I would be here 4 years and then leave. And I've been here 24 years now. So the vortex of Texas sucked me in and hasn't let me go. And been married for, it'll be 23 years this December.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's 23 in a row. I feel like that's
there you go. That's important.
That's
important to the same person.
It is. Yeah. Same person.
That's
right.
Also a good distinction.
All those qualifiers you got to put out there.
There you go.
And then two teenage boys. I've got a junior in high school and a freshman in high school. And so we're having a lot of fun there.
Fantastic. I love that, Adam. Well,
Yeah.
again, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have
Thank you.
You've got a new book that I want to make sure we get to, but before we get there, tell me about, so you're a CPA.
Yeah.
You feel called into full-time vocational ministry. You go out to Dallas, you get your master's and you get into church leadership. Kind of tell us the progression there.
Yeah, it is such listen, probably when I was in college, somebody came to speak to some class and was like, your career is going to take a bunch of ups and downs and it's never a straight line. And I probably heard somebody say that, and now I get it. It has not been a straight line.
Okay.
I actually went into ministry 2 different times. I've left it twice. I've gone in and out of corporate America. But yeah, start as a CPA. So I came to faith in college. So I was kind of a late bloomer there. I was 21 years old. A guy in my fraternity shared his faith with me, and I watched him for 2 years. And after 2 years of really comparing my life to his life, I just realized his life seems way better than mine. And he says it's this guy named Jesus. And so I'm going to start following Jesus too. So I left Clemson a very different man than when I showed up.
Sure.
For a lot of reasons. Then get plugged into a church in Atlanta when I'm starting working, never thought about full-time ministry, and just get plugged into a great, growing, vibrant church and started to just understand that ministry can look a lot of different ways.
Sure.
And that really enticed me to think about ministry. And so after 4 years of being a CPA, I compared that to what I was doing when I was serving at the church. And as I'm sure you can imagine, Matt, that's not a very fair comparison.
Not at all. No.
Not at all. So I was a little naive, mid-20s, kind of getting into late 20s. So I had my quarter life crisis and moved here and was a full-time student for 2 years.
Okay.
And it was awesome. So I met my wife here, and then our story took a little turn where when we got married, we were immediately in a financial crisis. We were sitting on $120,000 in student loan debt. And I was tutoring students part-time in accounting over at SMU. My wife was working for a nonprofit, making a nonprofit salary. We were paying more in minimum payments on the debt than we were for rent. And as we were thinking about full-time ministry, we just didn't know, are we going to be able to make enough money to pay all that off? And so we
Sure.
made a decision early in our marriage that I actually dropped out of seminary and went back into accounting. And she got a job in corporate America, left the nonprofit space.
Okay.
So we took about 4 or 5 years to pay off that debt, paid it all off, had our first kid. And then I was approached by the church that I was a part of here in town, Watermark Community Church. I was approached to join their staff and thought, well, I don't want to go back into debt and finish up seminary. So I'm just going
Sure.
to go on staff and just do what I wanted to do when I first moved here. And so, yeah, I was on staff at a church for 10 years here in town and kept doing leadership development kind of on the side and professional development. And I was doing it in the accounting industry because that was the industry I
Okay.
knew.
Okay.
And after about 10 years, that started to really pick up. And just, I don't know how, I mean, we can get into it if you want to, but I just kind of felt like my work at the church was done. It was
Sure.
just one of those, I just felt like I'd done everything the Lord needed me to do. And He had a new project for me, and that was going and working with leaders in corporate America. And so that's what I've been doing since 2020.
I love, I don't love when God shuts a door, right? Just to be
Right.
very, very clear.
Yeah.
That's not my personality, but I do love when the next door opens.
Yeah.
And it's very clear, like, okay, God, this is where you're leading me to. There's
Yep.
there's bumps and bruises along the way. There's fate that we step out into,
Yep.
but I love that experience that you had of a couple of times of like, okay, God, we're going to make what seems like a dramatic change.
Yeah.
You're going to be faithful through it all, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So you step into this professional coaching career, and
Yeah.
that happens in 2020, right? What
Yeah.
a chaotic time for that to
It was a
happen.
great time to start a business,
Great-
right?
great
A
time
great
to
time
start.
to go and start a live teaching business, where you go. and
Let's see
do
if we
all
can
that.
come in person and do some
That's
mentorship
right.
and coaching
Yeah.
and teaching. So what has it looked like since then? So you get out of the time at church, you've had time in corporate
Mhm.
America. What does it look like now since 2020 in your coaching speaking practice? What does that look like?
Well, because I'm the one who's lived my life, what I kind of feel like is, the end of the classic TV show Seinfeld, how they just would bring all these different plot lines together at the end,
Sure.
and the whole episode made sense to me. And maybe some delusions of grandeur here, but to me, I'm looking back and going, this all makes sense
Sure.
to me. All these plot lines of what I did in corporate America, what I did in ministry, it all has kind of met here in what I'm doing now, to go around and to work with a lot of mid-level leaders who are they're confused, they are frustrated, they're waking up wanting to do good work, wanting to be good, effective leaders. And there's just this weird thing out there in corporate America where a lot of leaders are put into positions of leadership without being trained, without being given anything resembling training. It's just like, well, you were a good individual contributor. Hopefully you'll be a good leader now. And so I do a lot of workshop, a lot of classroom style type
Okay.
things. I
Okay.
do some one-on-one executive coaching. What goes along with those workshops is a lot of reading, writing, put out a couple of books that we'll talk about one of them here in a moment. You do just try kind of like content marketing. You're just trying to put things out on LinkedIn and
Sure.
Instagram and blogs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm either getting ready for a classroom, I'm in the classroom, or I'm doing some coaching or just some business development. So, which, with a lot of your listeners that are solopreneurs, they understand that grind. A lot of small business owners understand that grind. You have to
Yes.
just wear a lot of hats. You
Yep.
got to go do a lot of things, and that's the same for me.
So when you look at this new book, why middle managers? Like
Yeah.
where does your passion come for that group of individuals? Why do you
Yeah,
think
'cause
they're overlooked? Where's the passion come from?
Yeah, well, some of it is just where I see the stats right now in the articles and the research that's out there. Whoever they is, when it comes to writing books, they always tell you, write about what you know about. Like you wrote a book and you wrote about what you know about.
Sure.
I've written books about what I know about. And so most of my career, I've been out of college now since 1997. So we're getting close to 29 years when you and I are recording this that I've been out of college.
Okay.
I've never had a C-suite level job. I've never been an executive. I've been a middle manager for pretty much 27 of those 29 years.
Wow. Okay.
I know it. I know that world. Most of the clients that I work with, it's really funny. Executives, people ask me if I work with executive leaders or business owners, and I do because they're the ones who write the checks and pay us.
Sure.
But they typically are not sitting in the workshops and asking for the coaching. They're asking me to come in and my team to come in and do the coaching and the teaching for their mid-level leaders. So over the last 6 years, I've just been working almost daily with this demographic, and all of those stats that I see about this demographic being overworked, overburdened, stressed out, burnt out, and about to snap, I see it. They are thirsty, they are tired, and this latest book, I hope, is that cool drink of water that they're looking for, that helps them feel seen, but more importantly, gives them a very simple approach for dealing with just the craziness that a lot of them have to deal with, just trying to lead well in the middle of their organization.
Love that. So you said something in kind of your prelude to that of we have people that are very good at their job, and we're like, oh, well, you should be in management, right?
Yeah.
As a business owner, I'm guilty of that. Definitely have a high performer like, well, yeah, we just need to give you a management role. That's the next thing that I need in your career path.
Right.
But and many times throughout my career as a business owner, I've not stewarded that well, right? I've not stewarded that transition for them well. I've not supported them well. So for the business owner that's listening to this, what advice would you have for that specific person? They're scaling their team. They're looking at adding roles, or they've got some people that we consider middle managers in leadership within their organization. How can we come alongside them in this conversation and support that business owner to better support their staff?
Yeah, the only way I've known recently to share it, and this is actually not included in the fog of work in the next book, but it's some stuff that I'm starting to work on, is to be clear that it is an entirely new game once you step out of individual contributorship into people management and people leadership. And so very, very simply, I just call it game one and game two.
Yeah, cool.
And game one is that you primarily win by being technically proficient. You show up, you have a good attitude, you get your work done on time, you become a craftsman, you get really good at your job. And typically the reward for that is the opportunity to play game two. And game two is completely different than game one. And so if you try to win game two of people leadership by just working harder and doing all the work, you'll become a micromanager. You'll get burnt out. You'll become one of these stats that I was alluding to with the middle managers. And so I think for the business owner, it's just letting them know, hey, I want to promote you, but we need to recognize you are playing a completely different game. So all these skills that you've been building up that made you so great at the technical aspect of your job, we got to add new ones. Yeah. And now the way to win game two, it's not technical proficiency. I think it's primarily relational savvy. You've got to know how to navigate relationships, and you got to move from being somebody who gets stuff done to now just make sure that stuff gets done.
Yeah.
And that is
what a massive really, distinction though.
It's
right?
a huge distinction, Matt. And I'm sure you've seen this, because what it becomes for a lot of people, and not to get too deep here, but I think this is what's going on, is it's an identity shift. Yeah. You for most of your career, you've been known as the one who gets stuff done. I'm the technical expert. And now to have that shift, and now I just need to make sure stuff gets done, it can be a deep identity shift as well. And so I just think engaging in some of those conversations with your high performers, just letting them know this isn't just more money and more authority. This is a whole new skill set that you're going to need to learn. Do you want to be on this journey?
So we engage with them in that process. We obviously get them the fog of work, right? We want to be able to get them that is an incredible resource guide. So talk us through the book. So give us the book pitch from the perspective of how is this, when we put this in the hand of our new middle manager or a long-standing middle manager, to try to help equip them better in their role. What are some resources that we can know that our staff's going to get in this book?
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you let me talk about this. So as I alluded to, 29 years as a middle manager, and I think, Matt, from a large percentage of it, I don't know if this is going to sound strong. I hated it. I could not stand it.
Sure.
I had these expectations of what life would be like as a manager and leader when I was younger, like when I started my career in high school, internships in college.
Okay.
And I just developed this mindset, this view, this belief that the higher you climbed, the better the view. And so that leadership just was like getting closer to retirement. And I don't know where this came from, but I know I'm not alone, because as I like to start my workshops with other leaders of just talking about, what did 18-year-old you think it meant to be a leader? And a lot of us will basically get down to, I thought it meant that I was smart and in control. And then we become leaders and it feels like anything but being smart and in control.
Sure.
Middle managers, that I use this illustration called the valley,
Yeah.
that yes, they've climbed up the org chart, but in reality, they go down into a valley. And so they get pressure from the right and pressure from the left. They get pressure from their team, they get pressure from their bosses, and just stuff rolls downhill and they just get buried under all of it. And what I realized from my own journey was that the reason I hated it for so long was because I did not have a sufficient operating system for really handling stress.
Okay.
I did not have a way for handling the constant volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. I just thought I just did not have an operating system for that because, again, I was trying to do a lot of game one stuff while playing game two. And, praise God, he brought a friend into my life, 2016, 17, 18 timeframe that really opened my eyes and helped me understand that my story doesn't have a villain. I'm just in a valley and I need a new operating system for handling it. And so that's what the book teaches. I read a lot of books for leaders.
Okay.
I've read a lot over the years. Some of them are helpful. Many of them are completely and totally overwhelming because they try to give the leader everything they need to do.
Yeah.
And I set out to write a book about one thing. And it's just addressing one problem, a huge felt need. And I give them one question that if you ask this question over and over again, this becomes the flashlight as you try to navigate the fog. You're not broken. And I think that's a huge message for middle managers is you are not broken. Really, your organization isn't broken either. Your story really doesn't have a villain. You just need a new operating system for handling it. It's a lot of fun to teach them what my friend taught me years ago to help me, stop looking for a way out of the valley and really start to find a way through it.
I love that. And so can I give the question?
Sure.
Are you okay if I share that? So
totally.
What do I control? Correct.
That's
is the question that you're guiding people. So why that question? And again, I'm an avid reader. I too have read several of those books, and you're like, this is way too much. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's way too many things. So I love your approach there with your book.
Thank you.
Focusing in on what do I control? Why that?
Yeah.
Why did you land there?
Yeah, because it really, in the end, it's the only thing you can do. And I think that's what makes middle management so challenging is your expectations and your responsibilities and candidly, what you're going to be held accountable for often feels like it exceeds your authority. And so the tension that so many middle managers feel, it's all about control. You are constantly faced with things that feel like they are out of your control. And so I just think in the end, this really what makes middle management so challenging is that it bumps up against something that we as humans are not very comfortable with is what do you do when you feel like you don't have complete and total control over the situation? Okay. And so what I basically say is that what I see is that if people feel like they don't have control, there's one of two, generally speaking, one of two reactions. And that's they either freak out where they go become the classic control freak and they yell louder, they grip tighter, they work longer, they just try to control everything. That's where you get micromanagers and bullies from, honestly, that they show up, is that's their response to not feeling like they control. Or, and this was me, they check out. And I think most middle managers, rather than freaking out, they just check out. And that is, you blame, you got stories as to why something couldn't get done and it's not your fault. You start to become very cynical. You can become very pessimistic. And you love to say things like, oh, I sent the email, I just haven't heard from them yet. Well, if they would do their thing, then we could do our thing. Or that's above my pay grade, or I don't get paid enough to make those decisions. There's just a tremendous amount of it's really what Martin Seligman called learned helplessness.
Okay.
Is you just face these situations that you don't feel like you can control. And so you just give up. And that was me for most of my career. I'd try, I'd freak out for a little bit and then I'd just check out. And my buddy Randy Marshall helped me see there's a third way in the midst of all this. It's not freaking out. It's not checking out. It is, just to have some fun with it. It's trying to figure it out.
I love
And
that.
you figure it out by just focusing on that one question of what do I control? And what Randy helped me see, Matt, is that like people that navigate their way through a valley, they're not necessarily smarter. They don't necessarily have a different DNA makeup. I just think they have a different way of looking at the world. They have the ability to find what is in their control in any situation.
Okay.
And they refuse to believe that the answer to the question of what do I control is nothing. And I say that over and over and over in the book. It's like the answer to that question is never nothing. There's always something that you can do. But it just takes a little bit of like, there's one sentence that I use to help you methodically think through what do I control. And I think you just sit down and it's almost like a sheet of paper that's landscape with 3 columns. And the far left-hand column is I don't control blank. And I think that's really helpful to write down what in this situation do you not control.
Yeah, sure.
But I do control, that's the middle column, blank. And you write down all the things that you do control. And so I will blank, that's that far right-hand column. And when I work with leaders in coaching or in workshops, it is amazing, Matt, to watch them walk through what I call that fog clearing sentence.
Sure.
Because of course there's a lot of things they don't control, and it's super helpful to write that down. But when they start to write down, okay, and they really pause to think about it, they start to write down what they do control, what ends up happening is that list is longer than what they don't control.
Yeah.
And it's surprising to them because you
Sure.
may ask them like, well, what do you control in this situation? And they feel like it's nothing. And then when they really start to think about it, they recognize, okay, I don't know if all of this is going to give me the results that I want, but there's a lot here that I can do that's totally up to me. And so I'm just going to stay focused here on this list of things I can control. And then the so I will, they've got a tremendous amount of energy to start moving forward.
I love that. And again, it's just such clarity, right? And I love the description, the fog of work, right? That you go into anyone who stepped into a middle manager role before they were really prepared for it. They know that feeling. They know the like, it just feels foggy.
It does.
And so the being able to provide some clarity there, I want to speak to the leaders who you help coach a lot of people through this process. Yeah. Give us some wisdom around like an apathetic middle manager that they freaked out and then they completely checked out.
Yeah.
How do we pull that person back in? What advice would you have around bringing that person back into the fold to get them re-engaged?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We can use the exact same thing here. What do we not control in that situation? What do we control and what can we do? One of the biggest things that happens when you start to focus on what you and you alone can control is you start to become somebody who's focused more on process than results.
Okay.
Which really is a secret that I see for a bunch of high performers that are out there. Okay. You see this in the sports world a ton. Process, because when you get out there on the football field, the other team gets a vote in the way that game goes. The military would say that the enemy gets a vote. Sure. Mike Tyson said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Right?
That's right.
So we all know that's out there. So here's in that scenario that you just spun, like, how can I bring him back in? I don't know if we can. So let's first recognize I can't control that leader. That leader chose to check out. So what do I control? I can control ways that I ask them questions. I can control ways that I try to pursue them. I can control how much I listen to them. I can control then based on what they say about some changes. Maybe do I make some changes to the way we're running the organization, some changes to our processes. I can control whether or not they just need a couple days off. Do they need a week off? Do they need a sabbatical? So there's a lot in there that we do control, but I think it just starts with like asking that leader to tell their story of what happened, right? Like what happened when you started and you were so energetic, and then what is going on here that now over the last 5 or 6 months, it just seems like you've checked out a little bit. And so what in your mind, where did that happen? And then you just start listening and asking follow-up questions. And I think the path will start to become clear as to what maybe needs to happen. And candidly, that's where I think a lot of of the middle managers, the ones that have checked out, it is that they just believe that there's nothing that they have any control over.
Yeah.
And that's just not a very fun spot to be in.
Yeah.
And we just got to help coach them there.
Yeah.
That they have a lot more control than they think.
To be in leadership and not feel like you can lead, right? You're called into this position of leadership and management that you don't feel like you have any skill set or the ability to lead, and providing some clarity there. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love your perspective of, we as leaders of any part of the organization, not just middle managers, we can still use that 3 process.
For sure.
That 3 page, the way we break down the page to
That's
define out, okay, no, what can I control? What can I control? What am I going to do with that?
That's right.
I love that perspective. And
it is. And it's, I was at the Richardson, I'm in Richardson, Texas now, and I was at the Chamber of Commerce a couple of weeks ago talking about the book with small business owners. And it was so easy to contextualize this book, even though this book is written to the middle managers. Here's what I would say to the solopreneur, the small business owner, the person, really the entrepreneur who's out there getting it done. Or if there's some senior level leaders right now, some executives, I bet there's nothing in the fog of work that is not something like, there's not going to be anything you don't already know. This has probably been your operating system, which is why you're able to do what you're able to do right now. So I do not doubt your ability. This is probably what you do. You just know how to take any situation, find the controllable thing, and you just go after it. It's process, process, process. You just keep doing that, and sooner or later results start to happen. So I don't doubt that. What I do doubt is your ability to articulate that to someone else.
Yeah.
Because I think so many like high-level leaders that are just, they get stuff done, they're successful, they don't even know this is their operating system. This is it. This is what you do. You take every situation, you go, I don't control that, I do control this, so here's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And you've got this like rapid, incredibly fast ability to do that. And it drives your team crazy, but that's your secret. And if I were to ask you what's your secret, you go, I don't know. I guess I was just born awesome. And it's like, no, you weren't just born awesome. Yeah. You have this operating system in you. You figured it out a while ago. You refuse to believe there's nothing that's in your control. There's always something that you believe you can do. And hopefully the fog of work gives words to your operating system so you can start to teach it to others on the team.
I love that. And Adam, as a dad, right, that this is a way I'm going to articulate this to my sons.
That's right.
And I love that because we've been, since they were little, we've been teaching, starting with our oldest, you control your actions. You're responsible for your actions. It does not matter what the rest of the world does. We're acknowledge them. We're process that, but you control the outcome that comes out of you.
That's right.
And so that's what a cool way for me as a dad to be able to take this and I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to put it on a piece of paper and say, like, this is what you can't control. This is what you can control. This is what you should do with that. Yep. And help them from that early of an age. Definitely going to be getting the book for all of our team. I have a couple of things I want to make sure we hit on. You talk about this perspective of a player coach. Can you kind of dive into that just for a little bit?
Yeah. So I think today's middle manager, back in the 90s, one of the fun parts of the book early on in the first couple chapters, I kind of go through the history of middle management and both like where it came from and then also when did it stop being cool, like all the pop culture references that now make middle managers the butt of jokes,
Sure.
So it's kind of fun to put that together. But one of the, so back in the 80s and 90s, mid-level leaders, a lot of the classic middle managers were done away with. The consultants came in, said cost cutting, here's what happened. So the job didn't go away, it just got shifted down.
Okay.
And now what we have in corporate America and a lot of organizations is very few people that get to lead and lead only. A lot of mid-level leaders right now, middle managers, they've got to lead the team and they still have to be technically proficient and do technical work. Okay. So they have to be the player who's still on the field and the coach of the team. And so it's a tremendous amount of tension and a lot of burden that today's mid-level leader has to carry because they've got to be both. They've got to coach the team and they still have to get out there and play and perform.
Yeah, which is a great distinction because, again, we've got a lot of small business owners that would categorize themselves as a player coach as well, right?
Yeah.
They're still out. They may be a solopreneur or they're building a small team and they're still out doing a lot of the work. They may be a whole service provider.
That's right.
They're still going out treating houses or doing installations, that they find themselves in that.
Yeah.
Again, the clarity comes around like what can I control? And
That's right.
as a small business owner, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, as somebody in any level of management, what incredible clarity for them. And then clarity that we can impose down to the team, that idea of, I understand you can't control everything, but what can you control?
What can you control? I mean, if you just as an entrepreneur or a business leader, that question alone, just engaging your team in that question of like, oh, okay, so the customer called, they're really upset, and your teammate comes to you with their hair on fire. It is such a calming question. Okay, I hear what you're saying. All right, let's assess. So what do we control right now?
Yeah.
And there's just a calming sense that comes with that, because a lot of times when we start focusing on things we don't control, of course the tension goes up because we're being held accountable for things that we're not responsible for. So it's a great coaching question to use, as you said. It's great to be able to do that. But yeah, this era of the player coach, I mean, a lot of us have some playing that we need to do while we're out there still, and there's very few of just those managers and managers only.
Sure. And again, it kind of gets us out of the paralysis by analysis, right?
That's right.
Gives us a very clear marching orders forward, because as an organization, we have to be moving forward, right?
That's right.
We've got to keep executing. We've got to keep moving the ball forward.
And it creates it also, just real quickly, it creates a temptation though for that people leader, because again, as we said, they spent most of their career as a technically proficient expert. It's hard to find a win sometimes as a middle manager, especially as a new one.
Sure.
And so the temptation to go back and just keep crushing a to-do list or just keep cranking out work, we got to recognize, you have to be a player coach, but I see a lot of those mid-level leaders that just go default back to playing because they love to play. They just love to play the game. And it's like, that's fine. That may be what's needed. But if you want to progress, then we've got to get you more playing some of this game two stuff. We got to focus more on the coaching and less of the playing. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's good, but it also can be a temptation.
And again, it just gives clarity to the leaders that are out there of evaluating your team, your sales manager, your technician manager, whatever that may be. If you see them falling into game one too much,
that's right.
Helping coach them into the perspective of, I see you as a player. You are a rock star player, but I also need you to be a rock star coach. And let me help you along that journey. I love that.
Let's do it.
So as we kind of come to the end of our time, Adam, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so excited for your book. We'll make sure we plug that. It'll be on the show notes, all that. But you talk about the difference between management and leadership. Can you kind of dive into that as we kind of summarize our time here?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun question. Like if I'm in a workshop and it just seems to be boring, I'll just go, hey, is there a difference? And just kind of stir it up because there's a lot of different opinions on that. I like to blur. I don't see a bright line that really is there between them. And I think management, the traditional management skills that we think about, I would put it in the category of what's called operational leadership. You just got to make sure things get done on time, under budget. You're holding people accountable.
Sure.
Just because you're engaged in those managing of a process doesn't mean you're not a leader. I mean, my favorite definition of leadership is being somebody who takes initiative for the benefit of others. I think absolutely, if you have a manager as your title, it doesn't mean you're less than. It means you're leading by managing this process. And you can still be somebody who takes initiative for the benefit of others, even in the midst of, you may not be responsible for thinking about the 5-year vision or what's the new product or where are we going in 3 years, that kind of you may not need to be the visionary leader right now, but operational leadership, that's where most leaders live. And that absolutely is leadership. And I like to say that because I want to bring, I joke around that I feel like I'm on a mission to bring dignity back to middle management.
Love that.
And I think that's part of where it goes, is you're starting to understand you're not just a manager. You are a leader who manages, and you've got to manage a process, and that's your role to play right now. But you can absolutely be a leader in the midst of that.
And it's vital to the success of the organization.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely vital. Well, Adam, man, I love this conversation. I look forward to staying in touch with you. if somebody wants to get connected to you for coaching for their organization, for their team or themselves, please don't give our cell phone number. But how do they get connected? How do they get connected to you?
Yeah, the best is adamtarnow.com, TARNOW. That's the one-stop shop if you wanted to talk about our services at the firm I'm with, PeopleWorks. That's the way to get in touch with us there. If you want to just learn about the book, if you want to follow the Substack, all that kind of stuff, that's a one-stop shop. So adamtarnow.com.
Fantastic. And remind us the book again. All this is going to be in the show notes for those that are
it's called The
along.
Fog of Work, A Simple Approach for Navigating the Complexity of Middle Management. Comes out on April 14th, wherever books are sold.
Love it.
And I'm really excited.
It's a great date. This podcast will come out, I believe, a couple of weeks after that. I don't know our definitive schedule right now. Just so everybody's aware. My book also comes out on the 14th, which is exciting.
There we go. Two good ones.
Adam, thank you, brother, so much for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.